Hey guys, Mr.Murray here. Today, for this project, you are going to need a paper shopping bag. So if you have one at home, try to find one of those, and I'll show you in a moment after you read the story what we're going to be doing with that paper shopping bag. We're going to be reading The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush by Tomi DePala. Right. Many years ago, when the people traveled the plains and lived in a circle of teepees, there was a boy who was smaller than the rest of the children in the tribe. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't keep up with the other boys, who were always riding, running, shooting their bows, and wrestling to prove their strength. Sometimes his mother and father worried for him. But the boy, who was called Little Gopher, was not without a gift of his own. From an early age, he made toy warriors with scraps of leather and pieces of wood. He loved to decorate smooth stones with the red juices from berries he found in the hills. The wise shaman of the tribe understood that Little Gopher had a gift that was special. Do not struggle, Little Gopher. Your path will not be the same as the others. They will grow up to be warriors. Your place among the people will be remembered for a different reason. And in a few years, when Little Gopher was older, he went out to the hills alone to think about becoming a man, for this was the custom of the tribe. And it was there that a dream vision came to him. The sky filled with clouds, and out of them came a young Indian maiden and an old grandfather. She carried a rolled up animal skin, and he carried a brush made of fine animal hairs and pots of paints. The grandfather spoke. My son, these are the tools by which you shall become great among your people. You will paint pictures of the deeds of the warriors and the visions of the shaman, and the people shall see them and remember them forever. The maiden unrolled a pure white buckskin and placed it on the ground. Find a buckskin as white as this, she told him. Keep it, and one day you will paint a picture that is as pure as the colors in the evening sky. And as she finished speaking, the clouds cleared, and a sunset of great beauty filled the sky. Little Gopher looked at the white buckskin, and on it he saw colors as bright and beautiful as those made by the setting sun. Then the sun slowly sank behind the hills, and the sky grew dark, and the dream vision was over. Little Gopher returned to the circle of the people. The next day, as he began to make soft brushes from the hairs of different animals, and stiff brushes from the hairs of the horses' tails, he gathered berries and flowers and rocks of different colors and crushed them to make his paints. He collected the skins of animals which the warriors brought home from their hunts. He stretched the skins over wooden frames and pulled them until they were tight. And he began to paint pictures of great hunts, of great deeds, and of great dream visions, so that the people would always remember. But even as he painted, Little Gopher sometimes longed to put aside his brushes and ride out with the warriors. But he always remembered his dream vision, and he did not go with them. Many months ago, he found his pure white buckskin, but it remained empty because he could not find the colors of the sunset. He used the brightest flowers, the reddest berries, and the deepest purples from the rocks. And still, his paintings never satisfied him. They looked dull and dark. So he began to go to the top of the hill each evening and look at the colors that filled the sky, and try to understand how to make them. He longed to share the beauty of his dream vision with the people. But he never gave up trying, and every morning when he awoke, he took out his brushes and his pots of paints and created the stories of the people with the tools that he had. One night, as he lay awake, he heard a voice calling to him. Because you have been faithful to the people and true to your gift, you shall find the colors you are seeking. Tomorrow, take the white buckskin and go to the place where you watch the sun in the evening. There on the ground, you will find what you need. The next evening, as the sun began to go down, Little Gopher put aside his brushes and went to the top of the hill, as the colors of the sunset spread across the sky. And there on the ground, all around him, were brushes filled with paint, each one a color of the sunset. Little Gopher began to paint quickly and surely, using one brush, then another. And as the colors in the sky began to fade, Little Gopher gazed at the white buckskin and he was happy. He had found the colors of the sunset. He carried his painting down to the circle of the people, leaving the brushes on the hillside. And the next day when the people awoke, the hill was ablaze with color, for the brushes had taken root in the earth and multiplied into plants of brilliant reds, oranges, and yellows. And every spring from that time, the hills and meadows burst into bloom. And every spring, the people danced and sang the praises of Little Gopher, who had painted for the people. And the people no longer called him Little Gopher, but he who brought the sunset to the earth. All right. So just like Little Gopher used his buckskins to use as his canvas for his paintings, we're going to be using the side of a paper shopping bag. And if you end up getting one that maybe has a print on it already from maybe the store that it was from, you can use some scissors. If you need some help doing this, you can cut along the sides and use the inside piece of the bag because there won't be any print on the inside. All right, so if you go gather that, we'll get started in just a moment. All right, so I have the inside of a shopping bag. You can see I have a little tear on it right here, but that's okay. I'm not looking for this to be a perfect piece because it's supposed to sort of look like the buckskin that Little Gopher may have used. So if you have paint at home, this would be a really fun project to work with some of your paint. And I'm using a limited palette. I have my 3 primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. And I'm going to try to use just these 3 colors to make my sunset. And I'm going to also leave some space towards the bottom that I'm not going to paint because that's going to be used as the ground. But if you don't have paints, you can definitely do this project with crayons or markers as well. Okay, so let's see. Maybe at the top of my page, I might use a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to kind of make mine, sort of blending colors, and we'll mix some of them on our page in a moment. If we start with yellow, should be able to add in a little red, which I'm going to go right into now. See if we can mix that a bit on our paper to turn it a bit of an orange color. Alright, it's getting there. A little bit orange. Now if we wanted to maybe turn this back into more of a, let's see, we'll get a little more yellow here too, and mix some more into that. That'll get a little bit more orange that way. Now some other colors that we see in a sunset sometimes are purples. So to get a purple, we may need to use a little red and blue. I'll put a little more red down first. And a little dip of the blue paint. Let's see if we can get some of that purple to show up. It's kind of getting there. Now, anytime you're using just primary colors, the thing that I like most about it is that you can really kind of go ahead and dip right into the next color, and you don't have to worry too much about those colors turning into a muddy color as long as you're only using 2 at a time. You'll go back to yellow towards the end here. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what shape I want my landscape to be. If you want to have maybe a mountain in the background, you might want to, make sure you're not painting all the way to the bottom. As fun as that would be. Alright, so now what I'm going to try to do is make a bit of a green landscape here. So the colors I'll need to make my green landscape be blue and yellow. A little more yellow. It's kind of a rolling hill on this one, it seems. Right. Something like that. Now I still have a little more space here that I can continue working with my colors to make more of a sunset. More purple right here, right along the edge. Okay. Purple here on this side too. Now I'm not sure this is as good as Little Gopher's sunset, but we're having fun with it. And maybe we'll even add a little tree. A couple trees. Starting with blue, gonna add a little green in there. Or yellow, I'm sorry, to turn it green. Alright. And let's see if we can't turn the rest of this landscape a lighter green. And don't forget, when you're using a brush, you're not pushing the paint down, you're kind of pulling it across the paper. Okay. All right. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay, so I've got my sunset and I've got my landscape. So once your paint dries up a bit, you can use marker or a pen or a pencil. Crayons may end up working once it's completely dry. If you didn't end up using paint, you could do all of these steps with just the crayons or marker. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to try and draw in a teepee. And a teepee is mostly just the shape of a triangle. A little bottom here and a door. I'm just going to use as a triangle. And feel free to add in some details to it too. All right. Next, maybe I'll make a little campfire. This is called a spit. This is what they would use to cook their meals on. Maybe some rocks around it. And what else could I add in here? I'm just going to kind of work on some little stick figures. I'm not going to get too detailed because this one's more about mixing some of your primary colors, making your sunset. And also, don't forget your name.